What if the reason you feel behind is because you're chasing someone else's timeline? We scroll, we tap, we admire, and we envy. And then, quietly, almost unconsciously, we question, am I enough? What begins as curiosity becomes corrosion. You don't even realize how much of your identity is shaped by what you're watching until your own life starts to feel like a series of missed milestones. Not because you're not growing, but because you're not growing like them. There was a time when comparison was local. It was your classmate, your neighbor, your cousin at family dinners. And even then, it was hard. But now, you carry everyone in your pocket. Every room, every life, every win filtered and cropped and waiting for your interpretation. And the scale has shifted. You're no longer comparing yourself to someone with your same resources, in your same town, with your same story. You're comparing your quiet mornings to someone's highlight reel, your tired face to someone's portrait lighting, your real, raw, flawed moments to their curated perfection. And because it happens so fast and so often, so passively, you don't even notice it's rewiring your sense of self. You stop measuring life by fulfillment and you start measuring it by metrics. The likes, the shares, the views, the followers. These numbers posing as your proof. Suddenly, your worth feels negotiable, conditional, dependent on visibility. And then something in you starts to shrink. Comparison is rarely fair, but it feels fair because what they're doing looks effortless. You see someone succeed and think they must be smarter, funnier, more worthy. But what you don't see, because the algorithm doesn't show it, is the context. The hours, the privilege, the pain, the part where they almost quit. What we mistake for ease is often just invisibility of the struggle, the false starts, the parts too real for the feed. And so we assume we're not doing enough because it looks like it's easy for everyone else. But comparison only works if we believe what we're seeing is the whole truth. And it never is. And then there's this. You stop living moments unless they're post-worthy. You propose an idea, and before you've even begun, you think, would this get traction? Would this go viral? You spend a beautiful afternoon with someone you love, and a part of you wonders, should I have captured that? You start living your life like a pitch instead of a presence. And the milestones you used to dream of, they feel empty unless they get a reaction. So, you begin to chase applause instead of alignment, trends instead of truths, visibility instead of vitality. And the scary part, it feels normal because this is what everyone's doing. Except it doesn't feel good. It feels hollow, like you're borrowing a life, not building one. Here's the truth. There is no universal timeline. There is no algorithm for joy. There is no metric that can measure the depth of your becoming. You're not a product, and you're not your engagement rate. You aren't failing because you're moving at a pace that the internet doesn't reward. growth isn't always visible and healing isn't always shareable. Becoming who you're meant to be won't always go viral. And that's okay. The life that's quietly unfolding within you, the one that's shaped by reflection, effort, honesty, and stopping to smell the roses, that life is real. And no one else can live it for you. The hardest part about letting go of social validation is that it feels like you're letting go of connection. But here's the truth. Validation from others is often a performance contract. You show the version of yourself that gets rewarded, and that version becomes who you think you have to be. To break that loop, you don't need to isolate. You need to rebuild your own audience, yourself. Self-validation doesn't come from a single breakthrough. It comes from small, consistent acts of inner approval. Finishing something and saying, "I'm proud of that," before checking if it's popular with others. Noticing your instinct and choosing it, even when no one else would have. Speaking up and not shrinking when your truth gets met with silence. And when that feels shaky, ask yourself, would I still want to do this if no one ever knew I did it? That question isn't meant to punish yourself with. It's meant to purify your intentions, to bring you back to your why before the world had a say in it. Because every time you affirm yourself, you train your nervous system to recognize you as a reliable witness. You become someone you trust to hold your worth gently and without negotiation. What if your deepest peace has nothing to do with being seen by others and everything to do with being in sync with yourself? We talk a lot about goals and outcomes, but the truth is, most of us are starving for a different kind of metric: alignment. Not achievement, not visibility, not clout, but that inner click, that quiet sense of, yes, this is right for me. The world taught you to measure your forward progress by how loud it is. But the truest shifts often happen in silence. When you choose rest without guilt. When you create something meaningful without sharing it. When you trust a decision no one else understands. These moments are invisible on the outside, but seismic on the inside. You begin to realize peace doesn't always look like a celebration. Sometimes it looks like a full breath, a slow morning, a no that costs you nothing but gave you back your time. Validation starts to feel less like applause and more like a congruence between your values and your choices. And slowly, the world becomes less of a mirror and more of a canvas. Because when you stop using others to see yourself, you finally get to paint something that's yours. So, here's your reminder. Every time you compare your path to another's, you abandon the magic of your own. You are allowed to go unseen and still be valuable. You are allowed to be behind and still be blooming. You are allowed to be unknown and still be worthy of love, joy, and peace. Because comparison is a mirage. It shows you what's shiny, but never what's true. So, breathe, unplug, touch the ground beneath your feet. You are not lost. You're just being called back to your own lane. And it's okay to walk it slowly, because this time you're walking it as you.